What's going on, YouTube? What's up, Raider Nation? I'm Bubba the Raider coming at you tonight. It is Sunday, March 10th, the night before free agency kind of begins. I wanted to come out here for a couple reasons. Number one, really cool opportunity to get my thoughts out before we start making moves. The Raiders are in a really cool position, one that I haven't felt we've been in like this for a while, where there's so much unknown and so much promise all at the same time. It's really an exciting time to be a Raider fan. It's always an exciting time to be a Raider fan, especially at this point. But there's so much that we can do, big moves that we can make, and questions that need to be answered. And tomorrow we're going to start getting some of those questions answered. So I wanted to tell you my thoughts on that. Also wanted to test out some new equipment I got. I got a new camera, and I will be using this. I'm going back to college to get my master's degree, and it's an online college, and so it has some webcam requirements, and I'm giving that a test shot right now. So might be able to let me do some pretty cool things with this channel, and maybe once I start getting the hang of the tech behind this, I can start doing some new things. Okay, so just recap for those who don't know. I've seen online a lot of questions over the last couple days about, guys like Kevin Byard just signed with the Bears, and Russell Wilson has agreed to terms with the Steelers, right? And people are confused because free agency doesn't start till tomorrow, and really it doesn't even start tomorrow. It really starts on Wednesday. So I'm just going to give a quick rationale as to why that is. So guys like Russell Wilson and Kevin Byard, they were legally under contract by their teams, but their teams terminated their contract, or released them, cut them, before the new league year began. So the new league year, does not start until Wednesday. And that's when guys' contracts officially run up, and they're able to officially sign with a brand new team. Now, tomorrow and Tuesday is what we call the legal tampering window, and that allows teams to begin to communicate with these up-and-coming free agents in order to work out deals, so that once the New Year League opens, those deals can already be on the table and already be negotiated. Now, if you remember with Anthony Barr last year, just because a team comes to an agreement on a contract does not mean, obviously, that it's contractually binding until they sign that contract on Wednesday. So tomorrow is an exciting day, and I would say Anthony Barr is the only case that I can really think of off the top of my head where I believe it was it the Cowboys? It was someone that last year or the year before he agreed to terms and then ended up in that 2-day window changing his mind and going back to Minnesota. So just because we hear it tomorrow does not mean it's set in stone, but it's usually pretty much what happens. So the Raiders are in an interesting position, as we all know. We need a quarterback. We got a guy who I actually like, Aidan O'Connell, but I don't know that I think he's the guy. And I think if we handle free agency appropriately, I will feel a lot more comfortable us giving up whatever it takes to go and get the guy. So really what that means to me is we need to shore up our offensive line. We have to shore up the right side of the line. Now, we just re-signed Andre James to a 3-year contract extension today. Love it, hate it. I actually like it. I don't know that we were going to be able to upgrade that much at that position. I felt like Andre James was not a weak point on our team at center. We get to keep Dylan Parham at left guard, Colton Miller at left tackle. We got to shore up that right side. We need to address interior defensive line. I think we need one more corner. And then, we've got the running back position is a big question mark. but I don't know necessarily that we need to look to free agency for that. And I think, yeah, one more corner. We need another tight end or two. So we've got some holes we need, but if we can address some of those big things, I think we can make a trade up if a team is willing to go get a Jaden Daniels or a Drake May or Caleb Williams or whatever, and not kill ourselves for the future. So I've kind of looked over some of these free agents that are going to be available for us to start negotiating with tomorrow. And I made like a list. I'm not going to be one of those Raider fans that goes, oh, we're going to go out and we're going to sign Christian Wilkins and Patrick Queen and L'Jarius Sneed and Kirk Cousins and Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley. Like, I see these things and I'm like, that is ridiculous. Now, we are sitting in a really good cap space position, but no team is in that great a cap space position. And usually free agents don't come to their team and become superstars, right? They provide good depth and good, lock down the positions maybe, but they don't usually go there and change the franchise. How many teams have we seen try to be super teams and bring in all these different guys? So I have this list of, looks like 5 guys I'm going to say for our needs and our situation, our top tier. Guys that I think we really should make an attempt to sign 1 or 2 of these guys. And if we can do that, it will be a win. So these aren't in any particular order. That's not true. Actually, looking at this, I think probably this is the order it should go in. So number 1, we need Christian Wilkins on this team, man. We need him sitting on the inside right next to Max Crosby and get some pressure up the middle, get our defensive line some help, stop the run up the middle. I think he can do all those things. Plus, he's freaking hilarious. That's a bonus. If you go watch his Mic'd Up, he's just so funny, and he's a stud, and he's not that old, and I think he'd be a beast. Number 2, same vein. I'm going to say take caution because I'm a big homer. But Eric Armstead was just announced that he's going to be released and become a free agent. D-tackle out of San Francisco and former Oregon Duck. I'm a huge Duck fan, and he's just a big-bodied guy that we could really use up the middle. I think he would bring a lot to our defensive line. Number 3, I know it's a little controversial, and I would add the caveat that it'd have to be at a price that makes sense, but I really want Josh Jacobs back. I think Josh Jacobs has been just a stud for us and has really dedicated himself to us, and I don't think he's been, in my opinion, as good as I thought he would be coming out of college. But I also think he's been one of the most consistent and hardworking guys on our team and a true leader of our team. And I think we should pay him. He deserves to be paid. Okay, the last 2 pieces in this top tier free agency. Jonah Williams, okay? He is 26 years old, which is incredible. And he was a left tackle for Cincinnati, but he made a move to right tackle. And I know that he had some injury history and some injury troubles, but I think I was reading that he really handled that transition from left to right tackle really nicely. And so we need a right tackle bad. And I know some Raider fans really, I can't believe, they love Jermaine Illuminor. There are some guys in the media who really love Jermaine Illuminor. I'm not one of those guys. I think Jermaine Illuminor his time has come. I don't think he played as bad this year as I thought he would, but he was not good. He really wasn't. I don't even know. I haven't looked at what PFF gave him. I don't really care. There was a whole lot of pressure coming off that right side all year long and last year. We need to shore that up. I think Jonah Williams, former first-round pick from Alabama, I think he could be a guy that can help us do that. I'm going to mess this guy's name up. Mike Onwenu. I've seen him bounced around a lot, offensive lineman. He's also 26 years old. We really need a right guard, a right tackle. I think he's got some position versatility. I think he stays mostly inside, but he can do both. Getting both of those guys, obviously, I don't think is possible, especially if we're able to add one of the other guys. But that would really help us. And really, if we're going to go up and we're going to get a Jaden Daniels or whatever, or if we're going to stay put or move back and draft Bo Nix, Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy, especially those guys, we have to shore up this offensive line. Like, it can't be a question mark. And I feel pretty good about our left side and our in the middle. These two positions, we have to get it right. I don't want a rookie quarterback that we sold the farm to get running for his life. Even if it is Jaden Daniels and that's what he does well, he shouldn't have to do it because our line sucks. Okay? He should do it because we've designed it that way. So those are kind of those S tier, top tier guys. Next tier, just some names I've looked at. I'm going to say Leonard Williams, and Leonard Williams might be a guy who would even be up in that upper echelon. I did look at his PFF ratings, and they have been incredible. He's a born Raider fan, has always wanted to play for us, went to USC. The only reason I have him a little lower is because he is getting up there in age. But I think he would be a stud addition. Tre'Davious White from Buffalo. They have announced that they're cutting him. He's battled through some injuries, but I think when he's healthy, he's one of the best corners in the NFL. I wouldn't mind adding him. Christian Fulton is kind of the opposite in that he's really, really young. I don't know that he's even 26 yet. He's really fast, and he's a guy that he's a former first rounder that it just hasn't panned out. And I know that's not usually what you want. But for depth pieces, like, why not take the guy that has all the potential in the world that hasn't lived up to it? Sometimes those guys can hit, and I think he would, if nothing else, could be a pretty solid special teams player and depth piece in a position that, as the year went, ended up being okay. And it's a position we've invested in. You know, Jack Jones and Jacorian Bennett in the last year, like, they're not high investments, but they are investments. So adding him there. I think we could use another linebacker, especially if we're going to run some more of this 4-3. Not saying anything bad about Luke Masterson. I think he's played a lot of football for us over the last 2 years and has gone through some of the most adversity and really stepped in and has been really good. I don't think he's a starter in this league. So I think bringing in a guy like Willie Gay from Kansas City would be a solid outside linebacker piece for us that could help continue to solidify this defense. All right, and then I got a couple of offensive guys. I've got Jonah Jackson, another guard from Detroit that I think could help that same thing as Michael Onwenu, really just help our offensive line. He's also pretty young, and I think he can be pretty good. And Connor Williams, again, a lot of young, high potential guys that were drafted a little higher, although I don't think Jonah Jackson was, that have maybe had some injury history or inconsistent play. I think Connor Williams could be good. I think he projects more and plays more at center, and that's not necessarily what we need now that we've signed Andre James, but we could put him at guard, and I'm sure he would do just fine. And then the last thing I want to talk about is we have to bring in 2 quarterbacks this offseason. Right now, with the way it's set, we just cut Brian Hoyer. We're going to cut Jimmy Garoppolo. We're going to have Aiden O'Connell. We're probably going to draft a quarterback or 2 to compete. But I think we need a seasoned veteran in there to help coach, to help teach these guys what it's like to be a quarterback in the NFL, to do the things that Brian Hoyer and Jimmy Garoppolo were able to do for Aiden O'Connell this year. And so I think a guy like a Jacoby Brissett would be a really solid piece. I know Tyrod Taylor's available too, someone who's bounced around and has absorbed many systems for many years and played with many guys that they can kind of coach on the field, help these young guys, Aiden O'Connell included. Or one of my guys, I'll never forget, my first Raider game I ever went to. Hold on just a second. Okay, so I'm 33. I haven't missed watching a Raider game since I was 11 years old. When I first fell in love with the sport, I fell in love with watching Tim Brown play for the Raiders in the early 2000s. And since then, I have not missed a game since I was 11. But I had never gone to a Raider game until a couple years ago. So my grandfather, who's also a diehard Raider fan from Alameda, he and I got tickets to go to the last game in Oakland. So my first game, Raider game, was the last game in Oakland, and that was an experience. And it was, I loved it. I loved the stadium. I loved the atmosphere. I loved the fans, how rowdy we were, how passionate we were, how much we love our team. And the Raiders did what I've watched the Raiders do a lot, and that is play 3 really good quarters of football and then go home. And we were playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that was, oh, you're going to hear my dogs coming. That was a team we should have beat, and we didn't. At the end, we let them off the hook. And that year they had, I think he was a rookie quarterback who I had watched his senior season at Washington State against the Ducks, beat my Ducks, and now he's beating my Raiders, and that's Gardner Minshew. I've always had a soft spot for Gardner Minshew. I hated watching him beat the Raiders in Oakland and beat the Ducks in Eugene, but the guy can play football. And he's been around now on a couple different teams, and I think he'd be a little expensive, but he would be a solid candidate to come in and kind of fill that role and be someone who can take snaps away from these young guys while they figure it out and while they learn. And if someone goes down, he can step in. And you watched it happen this year with the Colts, and I know the Colts weren't great, but the Colts aren't a great team. But he stepped in and he filled in for Anthony Richardson this year. So I'm not going to get too much into the draft talk. There's going to be a time for that. But I really just wanted to bring this up. I'm not saying that, if we don't get any of these guys, I'm going to think this was a waste. And I'm not saying that I think we're going to get all of these guys. But I would say number one priority, if you said, Bubba, we could sign one free agent, I would pick Christian Wilkins. Either him or Josh. Okay? Running back is a position that I think we can address in a lot of different ways. But I think he just, on a personal level, has done enough. And it's business and it's not personal, but at some point, wow, I'm looking at my computer. My lips look really red. Interesting. Looks like I'm wearing lipstick or something. Anyway, sorry about that. I think that the running back position we can address. There's a lot of really good running backs in this draft. There's a lot of really good running backs in this free agency period. But I think he's deserved it. He's earned the right. He's earned a paycheck from us. He's earned it. Yeah, so I would say go get Christian Wilkins, go pay Josh, and go pay an offensive lineman. I would love that. That would be a win. That would be a huge win. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? You like this video? Don't like this video? Leave a comment. Subscribe if you haven't. If you hate this, let me know. Like it, dislike it. It's all right. Let's talk. And as always, just win, baby.